Liam's seemingly perfect marriage shatters when he uncovers his wife Sophia's infidelity with her manipulative coworker, Ryan. What starts as subtle suspicions, late nights, secretive phone behavior, spirals into a web of betrayal, lies, and shocking revelations. Sophia's actions and Ryan's deceitful schemes push Liam to confront not just their betrayal, but his own emotional turmoil. Tensions rise as the truth unfolds, exposing the devastating consequences of infidelity and manipulation. The story captures the raw emotions of anger, heartbreak, and injustice, leaving the audience questioning loyalty, trust, and the price of forgiveness. Let's start with a quiet suburban neighborhood in the early 2010s, a time when Facebook was just starting to dominate. Instagram wasn't yet the big deal it is today, and texting on your flip phone still felt kind of fancy. Meet Liam, our protagonist. He's 35, a down-to-earth, hard-working guy with a sense of humor that could light up a room. He's the kind of man who remembers your coffee order after just one meeting. Liam's life, at first glance, seemed perfect. Married to Sophia for nearly 7 years, they were the kind of couple everyone envied. Sophia, 32, was stunningly beautiful, with a laugh that could turn heads and a charisma that made her seem almost untouchable. Together, they were that couple, the ones always hosting game nights and getting tagged in lower relationship goals posts by their friends. The two met in college, where Liam was studying business, while Sophia was chasing her dream of becoming a designer. From the moment their eyes met in a packed lecture hall, Liam knew she was the one. They had the classic love story: late-night talks, long walks on campus, and big dreams about the future. But life rarely sticks to the script, does it? Fast forward to their present-day lives. Liam now runs a successful landscaping company, something he built from scratch with grit and late nights. He's got dirt under his nails and pride in his work. He's a guy who values loyalty and honesty above all else. Meanwhile, Sophia's dream of being a designer hadn't exactly panned out. After some early setbacks, she switched careers and found a cushy office job in marketing. It wasn't what she wanted, but it paid well, and she seemed content, or so Liam thought. Now here's the thing about relationships. They're never as picture-perfect as they appear. Liam worked long hours, often leaving the house before sunrise and returning after dark. He wasn't around as much as he wanted to be, but in his mind, he was doing it all for their future. Sophia, however, started to seem distant. The warm, affectionate woman he married had become cold, almost robotic. It started subtly: canceled date nights, vague excuses about work, and her phone always buzzing at odd hours. Liam chalked it up to stress. "She's busy," he'd tell himself. "Everyone has rough patches." But then came the red flags he couldn't ignore. One evening, Liam came home earlier than usual, eager to surprise Sophia with her favorite takeout. But when he walked through the door, she was sitting on the couch, her phone clutched tightly in her hand. The moment she saw him, she jumped like a guilty kid caught stealing cookies. "Hey, babe, you're home early," she said, her voice just a little too cheerful. "Thought I'd surprise you," Liam replied, holding up the takeout bag with a grin. But Sophia's smile didn't quite reach her eyes. Instead of excitement, there was something else. Guilt-anxiety. Liam couldn't put his finger on it, but it gnawed at him. Later that night, he noticed her texting under the covers, the glow of her phone lighting up the room. When he asked who it was, she waved it off with a quick, "Just work stuff." Work stuff became her go-to answer for everything: late-night calls, sudden changes in her schedule, and hours spent glued to her phone. It was all work stuff. At first, Liam tried to believe her. He wanted to trust his wife, but there was this little voice in the back of his mind whispering, "Something's not right." Over the next few weeks, Liam started paying closer attention. He noticed the subtle changes in her routine, how she started dressing up more for work, spending extra time on her hair and makeup. It wasn't just the occasional effort to look nice, it was a daily transformation. She also started guarding her phone like it held state secrets. Liam couldn't even glance at it without her snatching it away or flipping it face down. It was like she was hiding something, and the thought made his stomach churn. One day, while Sophia was in the shower, Liam's curiosity got the better of him. He picked up her phone, but of course, it was locked. A password he didn't know. She'd never had a password before. When she came out of the bathroom, towel wrapped around her, she caught him holding her phone. Her face turned stone cold. "What are you doing?" she asked, her voice sharp. "Nothing," Liam said, setting it down like it had burned him. "Just wanted to check the time." She didn't believe him. He could see it in her eyes, but she didn't say anything. She just grabbed her phone and walked out of the room, leaving Liam alone with his thoughts and the knot in his chest tightening. The tipping point came a week later, during a casual beer with his best friend. Jake was the kind of guy who told it like it was. No sugarcoating. "Man, you've been looking stressed lately," Jake said, taking a swig of his drink. "It's nothing," Liam replied, though his tone said otherwise. "Come on, don't give me that spill it." After some prodding, Liam finally opened up, telling Jake about Sophia's recent behavior. The late nights, the phone secrecy, the emotional distance, it all came pouring out. Jake listened, his expression growing more serious with every word. When Liam finished, Jake leaned back in his chair, letting out a low whistle. "Look, man," Jake said, "I hate to say it, but you gotta trust your gut on this. If something feels off, it probably is." Liam nodded, but the words hit him like a ton of bricks. Deep down, he already knew Jake was right. That night, as he lay in bed next to Sophia, who was once again glued to her phone, Liam made a decision. He needed to find out the truth, whatever it was. Liam couldn't shake the unease gnawing at him. Sophia's behavior had crossed the line from suspicious to downright unsettling. So, one quiet Saturday afternoon, he made a bold move. While Sophia was out running errands, an activity that had become more frequent lately, Liam decided to dig deeper. He started with the home computer, one of the few devices Sophia hadn't locked down with a password. It was mostly used for bills and grocery lists, but Liam figured it was worth a shot. His heart pounded as he sifted through the browser history and documents. At first, everything seemed normal. Then he found a folder buried deep in the directory, innocently labeled Work Notes. Curious, he opened it. Inside were screenshots of text conversations. Dozens of them most were mundane, office-related chatter, but one thread caught his attention. It was from someone named Ryan. The messages were flirty, playful, and just vague enough to suggest something more than friendship. One line stood out like a flashing neon sign. "Can't wait to see you again. Last night was amazing." Liam felt his stomach drop. The words seemed to mock him, daring him to confront the truth he already feared. When Sophia came home later that evening, Liam debated his next move should he confront her demand answers. But as she walked through the door, humming to herself and carrying bags from her errands, Liam froze. He wasn't ready, not yet. Instead, he played along, greeting her with a smile that felt painfully forced. They ate dinner together, but the usual small talk felt hollow. Liam watched her closely, trying to decipher her every move, every word. That night, As Sophia scrolled through her phone in bed, Liam couldn't take it anymore. "Soph," he said, his voice steady but tense. "Can I ask you something?" She glanced up, her expression unreadable. "Sure. What's going on with you lately? You've been distant." Sophia sighed, rolling her eyes like he'd asked her to recite the periodic table. "Liam, we've talked about this. It's work. I'm under a lot of pressure right now." "Is it really just work?" he pressed. Her eyes narrowed. "What's that supposed to mean?" Liam hesitated. He wanted to lay it all out, the screenshots, the late nights, the texts, but something held him back. Instead, he simply said, "I feel like you're hiding something from me." Sophia let out a sharp laugh, one that didn't reach her eyes. "You're being paranoid. Maybe you should focus on your own life instead of micromanaging mine." The conversation ended there, but the tension lingered like a storm cloud. Over the next few weeks, Liam's suspicions grew. Sophia's late nights became more frequent, her excuses thinner. Liam started to feel like a stranger in his own home. One evening, while Sophia was working late, Liam decided to take matters into his own hands. He drove to her office, parking a block away to avoid being seen. As he sat in the dark, waiting, he felt a pang of guilt. Was this really who he'd become? A paranoid husband, spying on his wife? But then he saw her. Sophia emerged from the building, laughing as she walked to the parking lot. She wasn't alone. A man, tall, dark-haired, and far too familiar, was with her Ryan. Liam's hands tightened on the steering wheel as he watched them. They weren't holding hands, but the way they stood close, the way they leaned toward each other, spoke volumes. When they got into separate cars and drove off, Liam followed at a safe distance. He tailed Sophia to a small cafe on the edge of town, where she and Ryan sat in a secluded corner, talking and laughing like they didn't have a care in the world. Liam didn't need to hear their conversation to know what was going on. He snapped a few pictures with his phone, his hands trembling. Proof. He had proof now, but instead of feeling relief, he felt sick. Liam couldn't keep it bottled up anymore. That night he confronted Sophia with the photos. "I followed you," he admitted, laying the pictures on the table. "Care to explain this?" Sophia's face turned pale, then flushed with anger. You followed me. Are you serious?" "Don't turn this around on me," Liam snapped. "Who is he, Sophia? And don't lie to me." For a moment she looked like she might deny it, but then she sighed and dropped into a chair, burying her face in her hands. "His name is Ryan," she said quietly. "He's a friend." "A friend," Liam repeated, his voice dripping with sarcasm. "Do you always meet your friends in secret and laugh about how amazing last night was?" Sophia didn't respond. Her silence was all the answer Liam needed. The days that followed were a blur of anger, hurt, and confusion. Liam tried to make sense of everything, how they'd gotten here, what had gone wrong. Sophia insisted that her relationship with Ryan didn't mean anything, but Liam wasn't buying it. "You don't destroy a marriage over something that doesn't mean anything," he told her. Sophia begged for forgiveness, but Liam couldn't shake the betrayal. He started sleeping on the couch, avoiding her as much as possible. Their once lively home felt cold and empty. And yet, despite everything, Liam couldn't bring himself to leave. Not yet, a part of him still clung to the hope that they could fix things, even as another part screamed at him to run. After weeks of limbo, Liam made a decision. He needed clarity, closure. He reached out to a private investigator, someone who could dig deeper into Sophia's relationship with Ryan. The results were devastating. The investigator uncovered hotel receipts, text records, even photos of the two together. It wasn't just an affair, it was a full-blown relationship. Armed with this new evidence, Liam confronted Sophia one last time, but this time there was no anger, no shouting, just quiet resolve. "I deserve better than this," he told her, "and you know it." Sophia didn't argue. She just nodded, tears streaming down her face. And that's where we'll pause for now. Remember, if you're enjoying this story, don't forget to like, share, comment, and subscribe to the channel. It really helps us keep bringing you these deep dives into real-life drama. Stay tuned for the next chapter. It's about to get even more intense. After that final confrontation, Liam knew there was no coming back from this. He had been betrayed on a level he couldn't forgive, and no amount of apologies or promises from Sophia could erase the damage. But even knowing this, the road ahead wasn't easy. The days that followed were some of the hardest Liam had ever faced. His mind raced with questions. How long had this been going on? Was it something he did? Could he have prevented it? But deep down, he knew it wasn't about him. Sophia had made her choices, and now he had to make his. Instead of wallowing in despair, Liam threw himself into action. He reached out to his lawyer and began the process of filing for divorce. It was a painful step, but one he knew he had to take. And with the evidence from the private investigator, he was confident that he'd be able to protect his assets and secure a clean break. As the divorce proceedings loomed, Liam decided he wasn't going to let Sophia walk away quietly. If she had planned to humiliate him with her betrayal, he was going to flip the script. He bided his time, waiting for the right opportunity to expose the truth. That opportunity came when one of their mutual friends, Rachel, invited them to a dinner party. Sophia, eager to maintain the appearance of normalcy, insisted that they attend together. Liam agreed, though his heart pounded with anticipation. The evening started off uneventfully. The house buzzed with chatter and laughter, and Sophia played her part perfectly, laughing and joking like nothing was wrong. But Liam noticed the way her eyes darted to her phone, the way she seemed distracted even in the midst of the crowd. It was during the dessert course that Liam made his move. Standing up, he raised his glass and tapped it lightly with a spoon. The room fell silent as everyone turned to look at him. "I'd like to make a toast," he began, his voice steady, "to new beginnings, and to honesty." Sophia's smile froze. She shot him a warning glance, but Liam ignored her. "You see," he continued, "life has a funny way of revealing the truth. And sometimes that truth is ugly, like finding out your wife has been having an affair with her coworker for months." Gasps rippled through the room. Sophia's face turned scarlet as she stammered. "Liam, what are you doing?" "Just being honest," he replied, pulling out his phone, "since you weren't willing to." With a few swipes, Liam projected the photos from the private investigator onto the TV screen in the living room. The room erupted in murmurs and shocked whispers as the images of Sophia and Ryan, laughing together, holding hands, entering a hotel, played on a loop. Sophia stood frozen, her face pale as she tried to gather her composure. But Liam wasn't done. "And let's not forget the messages," he said, scrolling through screenshots of their texts. "Because nothing says true love like sneaking around behind your husband's back." The aftermath of that night was explosive. Sophia stormed out of the party, her carefully crafted image in tatters. Friends who had once admired her now looked at her with disgust, and word spread quickly through their social circles. Ryan didn't escape unscathed either. The private investigator had sent a detailed report to Ryan's employer, outlining his involvement in the affair. As it turned out, the company had a strict policy against workplace relationships, especially ones that could lead to potential scandals. Within a week, Ryan was fired, and his career took a nosedive. For Liam, there was a bittersweet satisfaction in seeing the fallout. But it wasn't about revenge. It was about reclaiming his dignity and taking back control of his life. With Sophia and Ryan out of the picture, Liam focused on rebuilding. He poured himself into his business, expanding it into new territories and finding a renewed sense of purpose. Friends and family rallied around him, offering support and reminding him that he deserved better. Sophia, meanwhile, struggled to pick up the pieces of her shattered life. Her relationship with Ryan quickly fell apart under the strain of unemployment and public scrutiny. She tried to reach out to Liam, begging for forgiveness, but he refused to engage. "I've already forgiven you," he told her during their final meeting to finalize the divorce. "But forgiving doesn't mean forgetting, and it doesn't mean we go back to the way things were." As Liam signed the papers, he felt a weight lift off his shoulders. He was free. And that's the end of this chapter in Liam's life. It's a reminder that sometimes the worst betrayals can lead to the most powerful transformations. If you enjoyed this story, don't forget to like, share, comment, and subscribe to the channel. Your support means the world to us and helps us keep sharing these incredible stories. Stay tuned for the final installment, where we'll explore Liam's journey of healing and growth, and the unexpected twist that changes everything. After the explosive dinner party, the fallout was swift and unforgiving. But the dust had barely settled when Sophia decided to make one final desperate move. Liam thought the worst was behind him, but it turned out Sophia wasn't ready to go down without a fight. It all began with a cryptic email Liam received late one evening. The subject line read, "We need to talk urgently." At first he was tempted to ignore it. What could she possibly say now that would change anything? But curiosity got the better of him, and he opened it. The email was long and emotional, filled with pleas for forgiveness and promises to change. But one line stood out. "There's something you don't know, and it could change everything." Liam's heart sank. What more could she possibly have to reveal? He hesitated for a moment, then replied with a short, curt message. "We can meet, but only in public." They met at a quiet cafe the next afternoon. Sophia looked different. Her usual confident demeanor was replaced by nervous energy. She fiddled with her coffee cup, avoiding eye contact as Liam sat across from her, arms crossed, waiting for her to speak. "I know I've messed up," she began, her voice trembling, "but I need to tell you the truth about Ryan." Liam raised an eyebrow. "The truth? You mean more than what I already know?" Sophia nodded, tears welling up in her eyes. "He wasn't just a coworker. He used me, Liam. He made me feel like you didn't care about me anymore, like I deserved better, but he never loved me. He was just after my money." Liam stared at her, his expression unreadable. "And you're just realizing this now?" "I was stupid," she admitted, wiping her tears. "I was lonely, and I let him manipulate me. But when he found out I wasn't getting half of your assets, he left. He doesn't even return my calls anymore." For a moment, Liam felt a flicker of pity, but it was quickly drowned out by the memory of her betrayal. "What do you want from me, Sophia?" he asked, his tone cold. "I don't want anything," she said quickly. I needed you to know I'm sorry for everything I know. I don't deserve your forgiveness, but I had to tell you the truth." Liam stood up, his chair scraping against the floor. "You're right about one thing. You don't deserve my forgiveness, but at least now I can walk away knowing I gave you the chance to come clean." And with that, he left, leaving Sophia alone with her regrets. As Liam drove home, his thoughts were a whirlwind. He couldn't decide whether Sophia's confession had brought closure or simply reopened old wounds, but one thing was clear: he was done letting her manipulate him. What he didn't expect, however, was the knock on his door that night. When he opened it, he found Jake, his best friend, standing there with a grim expression. "We need to talk," Jake said, stepping inside. Liam frowned. "What's going on?" Jake hesitated before pulling out his phone. "You're not going to believe this." He handed the phone to Liam, who stared at the screen in disbelief. It was a series of text messages between Jake's wife and Ryan, messages that made it painfully clear that Ryan hadn't just been involved with Sophia. He had been stringing along multiple women, including Jake's wife. Liam felt a surge of anger. "Are you telling me this guy wrecked both of our lives?" Jake nodded, his jaw clenched. "And I'm not letting him get away with it." Fueled by a shared sense of betrayal, Liam and Jake decided to confront Ryan once and for all. With some help from mutual acquaintances, they tracked him down to a dive bar on the outskirts of town. When they walked in, the atmosphere was tense. Ryan was sitting at the bar, laughing with a group of friends, completely unaware of the storm heading his way. Liam and Jake approached him, their presence enough to silence the laughter. Ryan looked up, his smile faltering as he recognized them. "Gentlemen," he said, trying to play it cool, "what brings you here?" "You," Jake said, his voice like steel. "We're here to settle some unfinished business." Ryan scoffed, leaning back in his chair. "Look, I don't know what you think you're doing, but I don't owe either of you anything." "Oh, you owe us plenty," Liam said, his tone icy. "You think you can walk into people's lives, destroy their marriages, and just walk away?" Ryan's smug expression wavered, but he tried to brush them off. "I didn't force anyone to do anything. Your wives made their own choices." Jake lunged forward, grabbing Ryan by the collar. "And you made yours, choices that are about to catch up with you." The bar fell silent as everyone watched the confrontation unfold. Ryan, clearly shaken, stammered, "You're crazy, both of you." "Maybe," Liam said, his voice calm but menacing. "But at least we're not liars and cheats." With that, they let him go, leaving him to squirm under the weight of their words. The confrontation didn't solve everything, but it gave Liam and Jake a sense of closure. They had faced the man who had caused so much pain and walked away with their heads held high. For Liam, it marked the end of a dark chapter in his life. He finalized his divorce from Sophia, cutting all ties and starting fresh. The process was painful, but it also brought him a sense of liberation. He threw himself into his work, expanding his business and finding joy in the little things again. Friends and family noticed the change in him, and for the first time in months, Liam felt like himself again. As for Sophia, her life took a downward spiral. With Ryan out of the picture and her reputation in ruins, she struggled to find stability. But Liam didn't waste any more time thinking about her. That's the climax of Liam's story. If you've been enjoying this deep dive, make sure to like, share, comment, and subscribe to the channel. Your support helps us bring you more incredible stories, like this one. Stay tuned for the final chapter, where we'll explore Liam's journey of healing and the surprising twist that changes everything. Ryan's smug facade didn't last long. After Liam and Jake confronted him, word spread quickly about his behavior. It turned out Ryan had a long history of manipulating and exploiting people, both personally and professionally. But this time, his schemes were unraveling faster than he could control. At work, his colleagues started coming forward with complaints. Stories of inappropriate conduct and questionable business practices began to surface one by one. The lies he had carefully crafted over the years were exposed, leaving him without allies. But it wasn't just his career that was falling apart. His personal life was in shambles too. The women he had juggled started comparing notes, realizing they'd all been fed the same sweet-talking lies. Sophia, who had once seen Ryan as her escape, now viewed him with disdain, and Jake's wife, who had been on the verge of leaving her marriage, found herself ostracized by their friend group. For Liam, watching Ryan's downfall brought a strange mix of emotions. There was satisfaction in seeing justice served, but there was also a deeper realization. This wasn't just about Ryan. It was about moving on and reclaiming his own life. With the divorce finalized and Ryan out of the picture, Liam began to focus on himself for the first time in years. It wasn't easy. The betrayal had left scars, and trust felt like a foreign concept. But Liam was determined to heal. He started therapy, something he'd once scoffed at but now saw as essential. Through those sessions, he began to unpack the years of sacrifice and neglect that had defined his marriage. He realized that while Sophia's betrayal was her choice, he had also played a role in their relationship's breakdown. This wasn't about blame, it was about growth. With each passing week, Liam felt a little lighter. He reconnected with old friends, took up hobbies he'd abandoned years ago, and even started volunteering at a local community garden. It was hard work, but it was rewarding. And then, just when he thought he was done with surprises, life threw him another curveball. One rainy evening, Liam was sitting at home, enjoying a rare moment of peace, when there was a knock at the door. He wasn't expecting anyone, and the hour was too late for casual visits. When he opened the door, he was shocked to see Sophia standing there, drenched from the rain. Her eyes were red, her face pale. "Liam," she said, her voice barely a whisper, "I didn't know where else to go." Liam's first instinct was to shut the door, but something in her expression stopped him. Reluctantly, he stepped aside and let her in. "What do you want, Sophia?" he asked, his tone guarded. She hesitated, wringing her hands. "I know I'm the last person you want to see right now, but I need your help." Liam crossed his arms. "Help with what?" Sophia took a deep breath. "It's Ryan. He's threatening me." Sophia's story came tumbling out in a flood of words. After Ryan's career imploded, he had turned his anger on her, blaming her for his downfall. At first, it was just angry texts and calls, but it had escalated. He had shown up at her apartment, yelling and banging on the door. "I thought I could handle it," Sophia said, her voice trembling. "But he's getting worse. I'm scared, Liam." Liam listened in silence, his emotions a whirlwind. Part of him wanted to turn her away. After all, she had made her choices. But another part of him, the part that still remembered the woman he had once loved, felt a pang of concern. "You should go to the police," he said finally. "I did," Sophia replied, "but they said without solid evidence. There's not much they can do, and now he's threatening to ruin me, to tell everyone lies about me if I don't go back to him." The thought of Ryan getting away with this infuriated Liam. He had already destroyed so much: Liam's marriage, Jake's trust, and now Sophia's sense of safety. "I'll help you," Liam said, surprising even himself, "but only because no one deserves what he's doing to you." Liam and Sophia decided to gather evidence against Ryan. Sophia started saving every text, recording every voicemail, and documenting every encounter, Liam reached out to Jake, who was still reeling from his own experience with Ryan, and together they hatched a plan. They set up a meeting with Ryan, posing it as an opportunity for him to make things right. Sophia would wear a hidden microphone, while Liam and Jake waited nearby to intervene if things got out of hand. The meeting took place in a dimly lit parking lot, the kind of place where secrets were meant to stay buried. Ryan arrived late, his usual confidence replaced by a twitchy nervousness. "What do you want, Sophia?" he sneered. "Haven't you done enough damage?" "I just want to talk," she said, keeping her voice steady. As they spoke, Ryan's true nature came to light. He admitted to manipulating Sophia, to using her for his own gain. He even hinted at schemes he had pulled in the past, laughing as if it were all a game. But the laugh faded when Liam and Jake stepped out of the shadows. "This ends now," Liam said, his voice firm. Ryan tried to backpedal, but it was too late. The recording was clear, damning. They handed the evidence over to the police, who finally had enough to take action. Ryan's arrest made headlines, exposing him for the manipulative fraud he was. For Liam, it was a moment of vindication, a chance to close the chapter on a painful part of his life. But it was also bittersweet. Seeing Sophia in the midst of the chaos, broken and vulnerable, reminded him of the life they had once shared. He didn't hate her anymore. He didn't love her either. He had simply let her go. As the dust settled, Liam found himself standing at a crossroads. He had faced betrayal, heartbreak, and anger, but he had come out the other side stronger, wiser, and ready to embrace the future. For the first time in years, he felt free to rebuild his life, free to find happiness on his own terms. And as he looked out over the garden he had spent months tending, watching the sun set on a new day, he knew one thing for certain: the best was yet to come. Thank you for watching this story unfold. If you're loving these deep dives into real-life drama, don't forget to like, share, comment, and subscribe to the channel. Your support keeps us going and helps us bring you more incredible stories like this one. Stay tuned for the final reflections in the next chapter. Ryan's arrest was supposed to bring closure, but the aftermath was anything but peaceful. Even from behind bars, Ryan managed to stir up trouble. He had hired a cut-rate lawyer who attempted to paint Sophia, Jake's wife, and even Liam as conspirators in his downfall, claiming that they had orchestrated a smear campaign to ruin him. At first, it seemed like nothing more than a desperate ploy, but the rumors began to spread. On social media, anonymous accounts started sharing edited screenshots and fabricated stories, all aimed at discrediting Liam and the others. Liam could feel the tension mounting. His reputation, his business, and his hard-earned peace were all on the line, but instead of retreating, he decided to fight back. Liam reached out to Jake and Sophia, proposing that they form a united front. "We've come too far to let him win," Liam said, his voice resolute. Though hesitant at first, Sophia agreed. She knew she had made mistakes, but she also knew that Ryan was the real villain in this story. Jake, still nursing his own wounds, was more than ready to stand by Liam's side. Together, they hired a top-tier legal team to counter Ryan's baseless accusations. They also began working with a PR expert who helped them craft a strategy to clear their names. It wasn't just about defending themselves. It was about ensuring that Ryan's manipulations didn't ruin anyone else's lives. The group's dynamic was complicated. Liam and Sophia's interactions were polite, but distant, while Jake brought a fiery determination to every meeting. Despite their differences, they all shared a common goal: to end Ryan's reign of chaos once and for all. The trial was a spectacle. Cameras flashed outside the courthouse as reporters clamored for quotes. Inside, the tension was palpable. Ryan, ever the manipulator, played the victim card to perfection. He portrayed himself as a man wronged by a vindictive ex-lover and her jealous husband. But Ryan underestimated Liam, Jake, and Sophia. The evidence they presented was irrefutable: recorded conversations, incriminating texts, and testimony from others Ryan had wronged. Each piece of evidence chipped away at his facade, revealing the manipulative and deceitful man beneath. The courtroom erupted when Liam took the stand. Calm and composed, he recounted the events that had led to this moment, his voice steady but filled with conviction. "I'm not here for revenge," Liam said, looking directly at Ryan. "I'm here because people like you need to be held accountable. You've spent your life tearing others down to build yourself up, but it ends here." Ryan's smug expression faltered. For the first time, he looked genuinely afraid. After weeks of testimony, the verdict was finally delivered. Ryan was found guilty on multiple counts of harassment, fraud, and defamation. He was sentenced to several years in prison, with hefty fines that would ensure he couldn't bounce back easily. For Liam, Jake, and Sophia, it was a moment of triumph, but it was also bittersweet. The scars Ryan had left would take time to heal, but they could finally start to move forward without the shadow of his manipulation hanging over them. In the weeks following the trial, Liam felt a sense of peace he hadn't experienced in years. He threw himself into his business, which was thriving now that his name had been cleared. He also started taking more time for himself, exploring hobbies and reconnecting with friends. Sophia, too, began to rebuild. She moved to a new city, determined to start fresh and leave her mistakes behind. While she and Liam didn't stay in touch, there was an unspoken understanding between them, a mutual acknowledgement of the lessons they had both learned. Jake, ever the optimist, decided to focus on rebuilding his marriage. It wasn't easy, but he and his wife were committed to working through their issues together. As for Ryan, he disappeared from their lives entirely. His downfall was a reminder that karma, while sometimes slow, always finds its mark. One evening, as Liam sat on his porch watching the sunset, he reflected on everything he had been through. The betrayal, the heartbreak, the chaos. It had all tested him in ways he never imagined, but it had also shaped him, forcing him to confront his own flaws and grow into a stronger, more resilient person. He realized that life wasn't about avoiding pain. It was about learning from it, and while he couldn't erase the past, he could choose how it defined his future. With that thought, Liam smiled. For the first time in a long time, he felt ready to embrace whatever came next. And that's the story of Liam's journey, a tale of betrayal, resilience, and the power of starting over. If you enjoyed this story, don't forget to like, share, comment, and subscribe to the channel. Your support means the world to us and helps us bring you more incredible stories like this one. Stay tuned for our next video. There's always more drama to uncover. With Ryan behind bars and the dust finally settling, Liam thought he could take a deep breath and start anew. But life, as it often does, had one last twist in store for him. Liam's business was thriving, his friendships were stronger than ever, and for the first time in years, he felt like he was standing on solid ground. Yet, there was still a lingering sense of unfinished business. The emotional scars left by Sophia's betrayal and Ryan's manipulation weren't so easily erased. Despite the legal battles being over, whispers of the scandal continued to circulate within their social circle and community. Old acquaintances resurfaced, offering unsolicited advice or digging for juicy details. Liam brushed most of it off, but one call caught him completely off guard. It was from Sophia's sister, Megan. "Liam," Megan's voice was urgent. "I need to talk to you. It's about Sophia." Liam hesitated. He hadn't spoken to Megan since the divorce, and part of him wanted to slam the door on anything related to his ex-wife. But something in Megan's tone stopped him. "She's in trouble," Megan continued. "I think you're the only person who can help." Reluctantly, Liam agreed to meet Megan at a local diner. Over coffee, Megan filled him in on Sophia's situation. After the trial, Sophia had tried to rebuild her life, but the fallout from the scandal had followed her to her new city. Unable to secure steady work and isolated from her old friends, she was spiraling. "I know you don't owe her anything," Megan said, her eyes pleading, "but she's my sister, and she's barely holding it together. I just thought, maybe you could talk to her?" Liam felt a surge of conflicting emotions. He didn't want to be dragged back into Sophia's mess, but he also couldn't ignore the part of him that still cared, if only out of compassion for the person she used to be. "Fine," Liam said after a long pause. "I'll hear her out, but I'm not making any promises." The meeting with Sophia was arranged for the following evening. When Liam walked into the small cafe where they were meeting, he barely recognized Sophia. The confident, charismatic woman he had once loved was gone. In her place was someone who looked tired, fragile, and defeated. "Liam," she said softly, her voice barely audible. "Thank you for coming." He sat across from her, his posture stiff. "What's this about, Sophia?" She hesitated, her hands trembling as she wrapped them around her coffee mug. "I wanted to say I'm sorry. For everything I know, I don't deserve your forgiveness, but I need you to know how much I regret what I did." Liam watched her carefully, searching for any hint of manipulation, but all he saw was sincerity and pain. "I've lost everything," Sophia continued, her voice breaking. "My job, my friends, my reputation, and I know it's my fault, but I don't know how to fix it." Liam felt a pang of pity, but he also remembered the betrayal, the lies, the months of anguish. "Sophia, I appreciate the apology, but I don't know what you expect me to do." She looked up at him, tears streaming down her face. "I don't expect anything, I needed you to hear it from me. I needed you to know that I'm trying to be better." As he left the cafe, Liam couldn't shake the conversation from his mind. Seeing Sophia like that had stirred up emotions he thought he'd buried. But it wasn't love or longing. It was a deep sense of closure. For years, he had blamed himself for the failure of their marriage, wondering if he could have done something differently. But now, he realized that Sophia's choices had been her own. Her regret, while genuine, was not his responsibility to fix. That night, as he sat on his porch with a glass of whiskey, Liam made a decision he wasn't going to let the past define him anymore. He had spent too long looking back. Now it was time to focus on the future. Just as Liam was settling into his new normal, an unexpected opportunity came his way. A local non-profit organization, impressed by his work ethic and resilience, approached him with a proposal. They wanted Liam to join their board of directors and help spearhead a community project aimed at revitalizing the town's public spaces. It was a chance to use his skills to make a tangible difference and to reconnect with the community in a meaningful way. Liam threw himself into the project with the same determination that had carried him through the toughest moments of his life. He worked alongside volunteers, organized fundraisers, and even gave motivational talks about overcoming adversity. The experience wasn't just fulfilling, it was transformative. For the first time in years, Liam felt truly at peace with himself. Months later, as the project reached its completion, Liam stood in the middle of the newly renovated park, watching families laugh and play. It was a stark contrast to the turmoil that had once consumed his life. He had rebuilt not just his business, but his sense of purpose. And while the scars of the past would always remain, they no longer defined him. As the sun set over the park, Liam felt a deep sense of gratitude for the lessons he had learned, for the people who had supported him, and for the strength he had found within himself. And that's the end of Liam's story, a journey of heartbreak, resilience, and ultimately, redemption. If you enjoyed this story, don't forget to like, share, comment, and subscribe to the channel. Your support helps us bring more incredible tales of real-life drama and triumph. Stay tuned for our next video. You won't want to miss it. Just when Liam thought his life was back on track, a new wave of chaos threatened to upend everything. It all started with a single phone call, this time from Jake. "Liam," Jake's voice was tight with urgency. "I think we have a problem." "What now?" Liam asked, exasperation creeping into his tone. "It's Ryan," Jake said. "I heard from a mutual friend that he's trying to appeal his conviction. He's claiming new evidence will clear his name." Liam's stomach churned. After everything they had gone through, the thought of Ryan weaseling his way out of justice was unbearable. "What kind of evidence?" "Not sure yet," Jake replied, "but I wouldn't put it past him to fabricate something." The idea of Ryan being back on the loose reignited the tension Liam had worked so hard to leave behind. He couldn't sit idly by while the man who had caused so much destruction tried to rewrite the narrative. Liam and Jake decided to preempt Ryan's move. Together, they revisited the evidence they had gathered during the trial. They spoke to the private investigator, who reassured them that the original case against Ryan was airtight. But Liam couldn't shake the feeling that Ryan had something up his sleeve. As they delved deeper, they discovered that Ryan had enlisted the help of a high-profile attorney, someone known for exploiting legal loopholes and bending the truth to win cases. The stakes were higher than ever, and Liam knew they couldn't afford to let their guard down. Sophia, too, was drawn back into the fray. Though she had distanced herself from the drama after the trial, she agreed to help Liam and Jake once more. "I know I messed up," she told them, "but I won't let Ryan walk away from this." The trio formed an uneasy alliance, pooling their resources and strategizing their next steps. The turning point came during a tense courtroom hearing. Ryan's attorney presented a string of documents and testimonies that painted him as a victim of a vindictive conspiracy. The claims were thinly veiled attacks on Liam, Jake, and Sophia, accusing them of colluding to frame Ryan out of spite. Liam felt his blood boil as he listened to the baseless accusations, but instead of reacting emotionally, he focused on staying calm and collected. He knew that the truth was on their side. When it was their turn to speak, Liam stepped forward, his voice steady and resolute. "Your Honor," he began, "this isn't just about me or the people Ryan hurt. It's about holding someone accountable for a pattern of manipulation and deceit. The evidence speaks for itself, and no amount of spin can change the facts." His words struck a chord with the judge, who scrutinized Ryan's so-called new evidence with a critical eye. One by one, the claims fell apart under cross-examination. Just as it seemed like the case was finally tipping in their favor, Ryan made a desperate move. He requested to testify, something he hadn't done during the original trial. The courtroom held its breath as he took the stand, a smug smile plastered across his face. Ryan spun an elaborate tale, claiming that he had been coerced into his actions by an unnamed third party. His words were convincing enough to cast a shadow of doubt, but Liam wasn't buying it. He knew Ryan too well to fall for his theatrics. The breakthrough came when Sophia, unexpectedly, requested to cross-examine Ryan herself. Her decision surprised everyone, but her calm determination left no room for argument. She faced Ryan with a steely gaze, her voice unwavering. "You've spent your entire life manipulating people," she said, "but not anymore." Sophia then presented a recording, one she had secretly made during their last encounter before Ryan's arrest. In it, Ryan openly admitted to using her, bragging about his ability to play people like puppets. The courtroom fell silent as the recording played. Ryan's facade crumbled, and his attorney visibly deflated. The judge's decision was swift and decisive. Ryan's appeal was denied, and additional charges were brought against him for perjury and obstruction of justice. His sentence was extended, ensuring that he wouldn't be a threat to anyone for a long time. For Liam, Jake, and Sophia, the verdict was a moment of triumph, but it was also a reminder of the resilience they had developed in the face of adversity. As Liam left the courthouse for the final time, he felt a profound sense of relief. The storm that had loomed over his life for so long was finally over. He turned to Jake and Sophia, offering a genuine smile. "We did it," he said simply. Jake clapped him on the back. "Yeah, we did." Sophia nodded, her expression one of quiet gratitude. "Thank you, Liam, for everything." With those words, they parted ways, each of them ready to move forward with their lives. And that wraps up the climax of Liam's incredible journey. If you've been following along, don't forget to like, share, comment, and subscribe to the channel. Your support helps us continue bringing you these gripping stories of resilience and redemption. Stay tuned for the final reflections in the next chapter. You won't want to miss it. With Ryan officially out of their lives, Liam could finally breathe again. The past few years had been a whirlwind of betrayal, heartbreak, and battles, but standing on the other side of it all, he felt an unfamiliar sense of peace. The resolution of Ryan's appeal wasn't just a legal victory, it was a symbolic closing of the chapter that had once consumed Liam's life. It was time to move forward, and for the first time in a long time, Liam felt like he had the tools to do just that. But moving forward didn't mean forgetting. As Liam reflected on everything he had endured, he realized that the experience had shaped him into someone stronger, someone more self-aware. The pain had taught him the importance of self-worth, boundaries, and the value of letting go. Liam channeled his newfound energy into his landscaping business, which had become more than just a career. It was his passion. With his name cleared and his reputation intact, the business grew exponentially. He hired new staff, expanded his services, and even started giving workshops on sustainable gardening practices, something he had always dreamed of doing. His personal life flourished as well. He reconnected with old friends, the kind who had stuck by him even during the toughest times. With their encouragement, Liam slowly dipped his toes back into the dating world, not with the desperation to find someone new, but with a renewed sense of confidence and self-assurance. It wasn't about rushing into a relationship to fill a void. It was about rediscovering who he was and what he wanted in life. Jake, too, found his footing after the storm. His marriage, though deeply shaken by Ryan's actions, began to heal. Therapy sessions, honest conversations, and mutual accountability helped Jake and his wife rebuild their trust. The ordeal had forced Jake to reevaluate his priorities. he stepped back from work, choosing instead to spend more time with his family. The cracks in their relationship, while still visible, became a reminder of how far they had come together. Liam and Jake's friendship also deepened. They had faced the worst together and come out stronger, and now their bond felt unbreakable. They often joked about how they'd turned their lives into a real-life courtroom drama, but deep down, they knew the experience had taught them the meaning of resilience and loyalty. Sophia's journey wasn't without its struggles. She moved to a new city, far from the people and places that reminded her of her mistakes. The guilt of her actions lingered, but Sophia was determined to rebuild her life with integrity. She found work at a small nonprofit, a job that didn't pay much but gave her a sense of purpose. Helping others allowed her to confront her own shortcomings and start making amends, not with Liam, but with herself. Sophia occasionally reached out to Liam, not to rekindle their relationship, but to express her gratitude. "Thank you for giving me the chance to grow," she wrote in a letter. "I'll never forget the lessons I've learned." Liam read the letter once, and then tucked it away. Not out of resentment, but because he no longer needed closure. He had found it within himself. One sunny afternoon, months after the courtroom drama, Liam stood in the middle of a new park his business had helped renovate. Children laughed as they played on the swings, families picnicked on the grass, and colorful flowers bloomed in every corner. It was a proud moment for Liam, a reminder of how far he had come. This park wasn't just a project. It was a symbol of renewal, both for the community and for himself. As he watched the sun dip below the horizon, Liam felt an overwhelming sense of gratitude for the friends who had supported him, for the lessons he had learned, and for the strength he had found within himself. This wasn't the end of his story. It was just the beginning of a new chapter. Liam's journey reminds us that life's toughest challenges often lead to the most profound growth. Betrayal, heartbreak, and loss are painful, but they can also be transformative. Through it all, Liam discovered the power of resilience, the importance of self-love, and the value of true friendship. He learned to let go of the past, not with bitterness, but with gratitude for the lessons it had taught him. And isn't that what life is all about, facing the storms, finding your strength, and coming out the other side stronger than before? And that concludes Liam's incredible journey, a story of betrayal, resilience, and redemption. If you've enjoyed this story and want to see more captivating tales, don't forget to like, share, comment, and subscribe to our channel. Your support helps us bring you the most gripping stories of real-life drama and transformation. Stay tuned for our next video. You won't want to miss it.